Bernie Sanders, who I'm sure it's important to you how Bernie Sanders does. I think Bernie Sanders has a lot to gain, but he also has a lot to lose. So I think, like I said with Warren, Warren has a lot to gain, but she also has a lot to lose. I think Bernie has a lot to gain, but he also has a lot to lose. I think that this is the first time that Bernie Sanders has been on the debate stage with Joe Biden once. But this is the first time he's going to be on the debate stage with Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders cannot afford for Elizabeth Warren to upstage him, because Bernie Sanders is not only debating Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Let's just take everybody out for now and imagine it's Joe Biden, Warren, and Bernie on the debate stage together. I think Bernie has a lot to lose if Elizabeth Warren upstages him, because Bernie's not just debating Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders is debating ABC News, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all of them. So if Elizabeth Warren has a moment or a breakout and Bernie Sanders is viewed as, he didn't have a bad debate, nothing bad, but like he didn't stand out, then they are going to do free and unlimited public relations for Elizabeth Warren, to the point where most voters that don't know any better and don't know about corporate media propaganda are going to be like, oh, I like Bernie, but his time has passed. Warren outshined him. And all the media is saying it's now between Warren and Biden, so I guess we got to go look at Warren. That's what would happen if Warren has that moment or breakthrough that upstages Bernie. Again, if Bernie Sanders has a good debate but doesn't have like a great debate where he has some big memorable moments, I think he has a lot to lose, because the media has the reason Elizabeth Warren is rising in these polls so much is not only because she has a plan for everything. It's because all people watching are fed is how amazing Elizabeth Warren is, how she's got the biggest crowds of any candidate, which is not true. Bernie Sanders does, but I digress. She has been fed like breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack on CNN, MSNBC, and in all these papers. And this is how you manufacture consent for the candidates that the corporations that own the media want. So Bernie Sanders in the second debate was a lot more aggressive than the first debates. Frankly, he was a lot more angry too, that righteous anger of Bernie Sanders. He needs to bring that again, but even further. Frankly, he needs to go on the offense against Joe Biden, because I'm about to show you this in the CNN poll. Bernie Sanders, because a lot of people are being misinformed from the media, a lot of Joe Biden's voters are actually working class people, making less than $50,000. A lot of Joe Biden supporters are people with just high school degrees. That is That is the crossover voter to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders' base makes under $50,000 a year. Bernie Sanders' base mostly has high school degrees, and Bernie Sanders' base is not the most well-educated. So there's crossover between Biden's base and Bernie's base. Biden's base, I'm not calling them dummies, but a lot of these Biden people that are supporting Biden is because they've been fed this myth, this delusion, this fake news, this alternative facts that Joe Biden is like Union Man Joe, that Joe Biden is middle class Joe. Bernie Sanders needs to Tulsi Gabbard the hell out of Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders needs to hit him on NAFTA, hit him on TPP, hit him on deregulating the banks, hit him on repealing Glass-Steagall, hit him on the Patriot Act, hit him on the Iraq War. 1, 2, 3, 4, under, over. This is what it needs to do. Because those voters that are being conned by Joe Biden and frankly think Joe Biden is like their friend because of what CNN and Wolf Blitzer tell them, the only way they're going to know and find out that Joe Biden has been basically part of the demolition crew to their interest, part of the demolition crew that sold their jobs to China and Mexico, part of the demolition that has closed down their plants, is if Bernie Sanders puts it in plain English. So I think Bernie needs to be aggressive towards Biden. I also think Kamala's going to go after Bernie. I think Bernie needs to just point out, what everyone else that's got confronted Kamala Harris about this says. I mean, your health care plan is not Medicare for all. And respectfully, Senator Harris, you either stand for something or you stand for nothing. You can't keep, floating in the wind. So I think Bernie Sanders is going to be attacked by all ends because he always is. The moderators are going to frame questions to harm Bernie Sanders. The moderators are going to ask other candidates questions to get attacks on Bernie Sanders. That's nothing new. But I think Bernie needs to focus like a laser on Biden. Also, to be honest with you, not that I think Andrew Yang is a threat, really. I don't think he's going to become president. I respect the Yang gang, but I also respectfully think they're being misinformed about his plans. I actually just did an interview with Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives. We spoke about a lot of things, including Andrew Yang's UBI, which Steve Grumbine pointed out why Andrew Yang's UBI is not what it seems. So we'll have some of that up tomorrow on the channel. But I think Bernie Sanders, I think Andrew Yang might, not like aggressively, but might, throw an elbow at Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders needs to point out, because there are members of the Yang gang that were Bernie people in 2016, and Bernie Sanders can get a little bump from if some of those Yang people go into rehab and leave the gang. I think Bernie Sanders needs to point out, this defeatist attitude of Andrew Yang's of, automation is inevitable, and we're all, the robot Grim Reaper is coming for us, so just succumb, lie on your couch, $1,000 a month is coming to you. I think Bernie Sanders needs to blow up his spot and also point out, what are you going to do when you give this $1,000 a month to people, $12,000 a year, and then all the corporations just raise their prices? I mean, it's common sense that's what would happen if Andrew Yang's UBI went into place. There's no price controls attached with that. So you could give people $12,000 a year, but then Walmart and all these companies, you're going to flood the zone with money, and it's going to create inflation. So you have less bang for your buck. Your dollar is worth less because prices are going to go up. I think Bernie Sanders needs to attack Biden, and finally, just like Bernie Sanders, it took him in the first debate an hour and a half even to mention Biden on Iraq. But Iraq, unfortunately, it should be a disqualifier, but it's not for most voters. What will move the needle for Bernie Sanders is pointing out to those core Rust Belt voters, those people making less than 50 grand, those people with just a high school degree. Joe Biden's not your friend. He's part of the reason your jobs have been sent to other countries. He's part of the reason you now have to work 2 to 3 jobs. He's part of the reason you have crappy healthcare benefits. And he would push the TPP because he was for the TPP as recently as 2016. And like Hillary Clinton, he's just full of shit saying he's not anymore. He will sign the TPP quicker than your head can spin if elected president. And I think Bernie Sanders, successfully in the second debate took on the biased, ridiculous propaganda coming from the debate moderators. I think that did very well for him. I think he needs to do it again in this debate because you're definitely going to have more propaganda and bias coming up from the ABC debate moderators. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.